With Games Workshop retconning the Adeptus Custodes and then gaslighting fans about there always being female in the organization, a larger spotlight has been put on, or a larger microscope, I think is probably the better word, has been put on Games Workshop and their Warhammer 40k universe. And we are discovering there are lots of sick, disgusting things happening in this world. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. And just to clarify, when I say there's lots of sick and disgusting things, I don't mean the things that the Xenos are up to, that the worshippers of chaos are doing. Those are fictional. I'm talking about people actually injecting objectively evil things, trying to normalize it through fiction. That's exactly what we have here with Warhammer 40k novelist James Swallow. He confirmed he included gender transition propaganda into his Iron and Bone story, which I believe is some kind of short story for the Sisters of Battle. This was brought to my attention by ex-user Chainsword 40k. He's doing really good work exposing a lot of these individuals, these Black Library novelists that are injecting this propaganda into Warhammer 40k novels. So here is the excerpt. It says, "You know my name? Had she mentioned it to Telfer after they disembarked from the warp ship that had brought her to this system? Verity searched her memory, but she couldn't recall. You told me," said the pilot. "Remember?" He grinned. "A good name, a good name. I once knew someone who took it when they transitioned. It's in the Book of Heroes, so it is." And on December 10, 2023, about 5 months ago, Swallow confirmed this was a reference to gender transition. He wrote, "Hi, the referenced scene is from my Sisters of Battle story Iron and Bone, not my novel Faith and Fire. Telfer, the pilot, is telling Verity, Sister Hospitalier, and War Hero about his friend, a regular Imperial citizen who took the same name after they underwent gender transition." So they are incorporating this absolutely disgusting, evil behavior into Warhammer 40k in an attempt to normalize it to readers, to make people think that this is just part of everyday life, when indeed it is not. And it is absolutely evil. It leads people down very, very destructive paths. And we must reject this. And this isn't the only thing that Chainsword 40k has uncovered. Previously covered Mike Brooks. He's added a bunch of propaganda in his Warhammer 40k novels. According to Chainsword 40k, he added LGBTQ characters, gangers that believe in the God Empress instead of the God Emperor. In his The Big Daka book, he included transgender Drukhari. Brutal Kernan book, there's non-binary characters and gender-neutral pronouns. In Renegade's Hero Master, there's paraphrasing with Umberto Eco, writes in Fascism. Road to Redemption, he inserted Sargon of Akkad, created a villain known as Sarkon Akkad, or Agad, excuse me, which is an obvious jab at Sargon of Akkad. Carl Benjamin, it's a British political commentator. I believe he ran for office as well over there in the UK. And then he also says there's lots of try-hard allegories of real-life politics. He turned him into a slave master. The character is a slave master who dies a pretty brutal death. He's basically killed like Jabba the Hutt with one of his own slave manacles. And then in Lion, Sons of the Forest, he included new pronouns and gender identity, implying that Space Marines could have some kind of romantic feelings for each other. And then in Rites of Passage, he also included new pronouns and pushed his own ideology into the character's mouths. We also saw him post this back in 2020, that this orc faction, the Freebooters, which are basically a bunch of space pirates, he says that they support pride, trans rights, and Black Lives Matter. Again, that was August 2020. So, like I said, all of this comes in the wake of the Adeptus Custodes controversy. I'm not going to go over it. It's here in the article. If you're interested, I'll have the link in the description below. But I did want to point this out here. Gender transition ideology and propaganda is indeed evil. I mean, this is very clear. There's a clear moral understanding of this. This Archbishop Sample of the Archdiocese of Portland, I think, provides a pretty solid explanation on this. And he's actually recalling a conversation he had with Pope Francis and kind of what Pope Francis had to say to him on the subject. And so Archbishop Sample said that Pope Francis said, "This is a direct assault on God himself. It's the ultimate rejection of God, that we don't need God. We don't need to accept God. We don't need to accept our individuality. We don't need to accept how God has made us. We just cast God aside, and I will define myself." So I think that is a very, very clear understanding of this. Obviously, God made us male and female. And to reject that is to reject God and his creation. And it's also to reject yourself. And when you're rejecting yourself, you're gonna go down a very destructive path, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's well documented, all of the problems that individuals who follow that path have. And people like James Swallow are encouraging this stuff, and it truly is heinous and evil. I just wanted to add this last part here too. Archbishop Sample added this ideology that's in the culture today, now that there's no such thing as a binary gender. There's multiple genders that we can define. Nobody's one or the other. We're just in this gender fluidity, so that young people growing up are indoctrinated into this ideology. This is what Pope Francis goes after. It's a terrible thing what's happening. And James Swallow is part of that indoctrination, and he's using Warhammer 40k as the vehicle for his propaganda. We must oppose this. We must reject this. And I think that we should not be buying any of James Swallow's books, given the fact that he has made it very clear that he is willing to include this stuff in there. We should not give money to people that hate you. And when you're pushing transgender ideology, you clearly hate a lot of people that think that that stuff is that know, not think that know that that is evil. Let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable to each other, but to always speak the truth.